Hello and welcome. This is Jim Kaufman with Rankin Technical College. Today's video is about setting up your environment for the Web Development Technologies course, the spring semester of 2025. So first I want to go ahead and here's the table of contents of what we'll do. I'm not going to go through every single one of these. I just want to make sure that the ones that are kind of most important or that sometimes students have problems with, I just kind of want to go through those together just to make sure that you get that right. So the first thing, actually, we're just going to kind of go through what the application web development hardware requirements are. We're going to install Notepad plus plus, and that's all of these are free. These were all free to use. So there's no problems with that. You don't have to pay for anything. But the first one would be Notepad++. Then we're going to install Visual Studio Code. We're going to install and configure the extensions for Visual Studio Code. Then we're going to install Git. We're going to register at GitHub Classroom and create your GitHub repository. Then we're going to install GitHub Desktop. And then we are going to clone your GitHub repository to a folder on your local computer. And then after that, I probably just let you go ahead and take care of these last two, is install Discord and join the virtual classroom and install AdBlocker. So let's go ahead and get started. So first I want to go ahead and so these are Google Docs. We use, sometimes there's for some circumstances, we have some Word documents, but a lot of our documents are Google Docs. So here, basically, if you're not used to it, and here it's like, so I brought this up in incognito window in Google Chrome, because this is probably pretty much what you're going to see. Since you're not going to have an account, a Google account. When I say a Google account, I mean one that is tied to the Rankin one, right? You could have your own Google account, obviously, right? And most people do. But this is basically what should kind of look like in yours, right? You're not going to have access to edit this or anything, right? So the first thing we want to do is go ahead and go through this application web development hardware requirements. So if I click on this and then click on that, it's going to go down in this document to that section. And kind of wanted to review this a little bit. This was actually kind of set up more for, I don't want to say set up, but these were the specifications for the laptops for the in-person classes. But these are very relevant also for your computer, your PC or laptop that you're using for this course from home, for the online course. And so this is just suggestions more than anything. It does have some required here, though, just because if you have something less than that, you might have some problems. As far as the requirements for this course, it might be you might not need quite as a performant, a laptop or computer as you do maybe for some of the other courses, because some of the other courses use some Windows things that are much more consume much more resources. This one here, this course, the Web Technologies program, we don't, most of the stuff we do is we use Visual Studio Code, which has kind of got a small footprint, and what that means is it doesn't really use a lot of resources, and it comes up fast, it loads fast, and all those things. Some other software packages, which I'm sure that you've witnessed that yourself in the past. Sometimes you do something, it just takes forever for it to do something right that you're trying to do. But Visual Studio Code has got a very small footprint. And then besides that, we have a few other things as well that we'll use, but most of them don't use a lot of resources. So it might not be, you might be able to get away with a little less, okay? But here's basically the basic requirements for the application, and this is for the application web development program, okay, for the whole program. Operating system, Windows 10 or 11. A 64-bit processor, okay? And it's recommended having a quad core. So obviously the better you have, the better performance you'll have. RAM, as far as RAM, 4 GB of RAM is the minimum. 16 is recommended or more. I actually have my laptop that I use, that I'm using right now, has 32 GB of RAM, so it's a pretty performant. As far as storage, so for some of these things we're doing for this course, yeah, you're gonna build. There's gonna be a lot of files on your local machine there, so you will have to have a pretty good amount. It's probably not going to be nowhere near this, but like I said, this is more minimum. These are kind of requirements for the whole program, because some of the other courses you're gonna store a lot more files and a lot bigger files, and performance is going to be much more important. Okay, but these are suggested. You can, like I said, you probably get away, especially in this course, with a lot less. So, okay, let's go back up here. So the first thing we're going to go ahead and do, and actually I'm not going to do this because I already have it installed. So first, go ahead and install Notepad++. Okay. This is a basic, very easy install. You just pretty much download this. Here, well, I guess we might as well go to this. So you can just click download Notepad++, right? Right here, the very first one. Pretty simple here. No, shouldn't be no problem for you at all. I've already had mine installed. I didn't uninstall that. Some of these other things I did try to uninstall. Okay. I did try to uninstall, just so I could kind of demonstrate a little bit. Okay. And the next thing here is Visual Studio Code. So here I went ahead and uninstalled this one. So let's go ahead and go to this, and let's go to Visual Studio Code. And basically we're just going to go ahead and download for Windows. Okay. It's going to bring up the thing here, and let's go ahead and hit save to download the application, or the installer, I should say. Okay. Now, obviously, it's going to go into whatever directory that you have set up, whatever directory you have set up for your downloads. Okay. And you can set that within Chrome there, which directory for downloads you want. In mine, it's the downloads directory, and by default, it always is the downloads directory, unless you might have changed it. Okay. So here's your Visual Studio Code setup. We're going to click on this, and we want to accept the agreement. Hit next. This is going to be the path it's going to install it. So you can obviously browse if you want to put it in a different path, or you can just accept the defaults. We're just going to go ahead and accept the defaults there. Would you like to install in this folder anyway? Hit yes. Hit next. Okay, on here, let's go ahead and go back to our document. And for that one, it's going to say, it says create a desktop icon, and then we want the add open with code. And so basically the second one and the fourth one, and the desktop icon, right? So we're going to do the desktop icon, right? And we're not going to register this. You can, it's not a big deal, right? But we're just gonna, this is what we kind of suggested. If you want to register it, that's fine. But that's what's suggested for now. Okay. And we're going to hit next here, and we're going to install this. And then by default, it has the launch here. We'll just leave that as launch. We'll hit finish. So we'll finish this, and it's going to bring up. Yes. So in your case, things are going to be a little different. And like I said, even though I installed it, uninstalled and installed it, it still has some things in here because there's some config files that in places that, you know, it reads them, and so it's kind of actually adding that. It already knows what I did before my last time I had it installed. So, okay. So for now, let's go ahead and go back to our document here. So we're going to start Visual under settings. So we're going to go ahead and go under settings here. Actually, maybe I'll just set this up so that we can see both at the same time. That might be a good idea. Okay, so I have I'm sharing the screen different so you can see both at the same time. Here's our directions on the left. Here's Visual Studio Code on the right. And then pretty much after you get it up and running, the first thing you want to do is go ahead under settings, go to settings. And here, and then we want to go down to tab size. I'm not sure what this might have been 6 by default. I'm not sure. I think it's still holding on to what I had installed before. But you want to make sure, go ahead and change that to 4. And this is kind of more a preference thing. You know, if you want things different, it's not a big deal. If you want a different tab size, 4 is kind of common. And, you know, I think most developers that I worked with, you know, 4 is kind of the default one for the most part. As far as tabbing size for your code, right? You can have it different. You know, the important thing is just kind of be consistent. If you're going to, you know, sometimes you end up readjusting your code and, you know, you just want to make sure that it's readable. So you want to make sure, you know, that you're always using kind of a consistent tab size, right? So we'll go ahead and do that. And the next thing is install Visual Studio Code extensions. So on the left sidebar, you'll see an extension button, okay? So if we go down here, we want to click on this extensions here. And mine are already installed here a little bit. So basically, you know, you're just going to want to take this. You probably could take that whole thing just like that. You're going to search for that. And then you're just going to go ahead and click. So what you're going to want to do is install these. You'll see like there's a little button when you search for it. See, mine's already installed, but if you didn't, here's some other ones. We really don't want to use all these other, there's lots of different extensions. These are probably the ones that most of the students use, okay? And so if this wasn't installed, there'd be a little install button here. You click the install button, okay? So for each one of these, you want to go ahead and install each one of these. So you can just kind of really cut and paste the names of each of these. And, you know, just make sure it's the correct company, because sometimes, like I said, for Prettier, look, there's all kinds of different ones. So you kind of just really want to make sure that you have the correct one, okay? So go through each of those. And you just want to go ahead and make sure you install each of those extensions, okay? And then here, under this, let's see, under extensions windows, click more actions on ellipse and installed inspections, okay? So back on, when you have your extensions up here, so you see installed and recommended. If you expand installed, you should see all the ones that you had installed. I look like I have a few extra ones than was on that list. Couple, I think Code Spaces. But so these are the installed ones, all right? You can tell they're installed because there's no installed button. You don't have no install button, right? If they weren't installed, you would still see a little install button there, right? So these are the ones I have installed. Next thing we want to go ahead and do is we need to configure our live server. And live server, what live server does is after you learn how to create files here in Visual Studio Code, you can right click where the code is, right click, and then run on live server. So it'll kind of run it, it'll run it in the browser like it's running in a live, like it's running on a server somewhere. It'll open up the browser and you'll be able to see the document rendered. Okay. And we'll see that when We, when we're on day one or day two, probably day two, we'll be getting into a Visual Studio Code a lot more, and we'll see that in action. But for now, you want to go ahead and click on the gear icon, okay? And we're wanting to for live server, we want to make sure that we're going to go to the gear icon and go to settings. And what you can basically even do in here, one way to do this is you're changing the host. This is what you're changing. So actually, if you go ahead in here and search for host, H-O-S-T, you'll see all the way down here, right down here at the bottom, you'll see to switch between localhost or that, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to change the host. Originally, by default, it's going to be 127.0.0.1. We're going to change that from that, and I already have mine changed, to localhost, and press enter, okay? Let me see something here real quick. Sorry, I just want to make sure that if what happens when you change this, I don't think there's actually an enter key there, is there? No, you just change it. So you just want to make sure that you got that as localhost. Okay. And I think you should be good there. I don't think that there's anything to save on here. I've forgotten. No, you just change it. It saves it. Okay. Oh, it does say the setting will be autosave. Sorry. And then also it's saying click the gear eye to manage settings for a prettier code formatter. Okay. And so on this one, so go ahead to settings on here and then search settings. You can just search for print, just like this. Okay. And then actually here you got print width. So we want this to be 120. So we can go ahead and change that to 120. Click out of there and that'll have that saved. Okay. All right, so that's that. Okay, and then we check the single quote checkbox. So here you can go ahead, the easiest thing to do here is just search for quote. And if you'll see down here, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see single quote here. So you want to have that checked. So it may be like that when you come in. Go ahead and select that. Okay. And then that is about all you need to do for Visual Studio Code for now. Okay. So you can go ahead and close that. Did want to mention one thing before we install Git. So here's basically the Visual Studio Code documentation. And if you have time, it's probably a good idea to look over this a little bit. We already have Visual Studio set up. Obviously, there's a lot of extensions. There's a lot of different functionality that's obviously available. We're not going to do everything. We want to kind of keep it simple, right? Keep it less confusing. But just wanted to point out there's, Visual Studio Code documentation has a lot of documentation for you to be able to do other things. And if you have a problem with it, this is a good place to start. You can search the docs, right? So, okay. So the next thing here, I'm just going to install Git. So what Git is a free open source version control system. And what it's used for is to track changes to files. And it's very commonly used in development nowadays. Git, it's actually started many years ago, but it's much more popular now. So Git's the most widely used version control system. Okay. So what we're going to go ahead and do is install Git on our machines. So let's go ahead and go to this and we'll install that. And we want to go to downloads and do Windows download. Hopefully you're using a Windows machine. We're going to go ahead and just click here to download. It's going to save it in our download folder. And it should download pretty quick. It did download pretty quickly. Then we're going to go ahead and oh, wrong one. Let's see here. Let's exit that. It was kind of in the wrong order there. But here's your Git that we downloaded. 64-bit. I have a 64-bit machine, Git. So you want to make sure that you have a 64-bit machine before you download the 64-bit one. Actually, when you do that download, it's going to know what you have on your machine. So, do you want to allow this app to make changes? We click yes. And then here, let's go ahead and quickly look back at the document just to make sure we're doing things right here. So the important thing here for Git is if prompted to create a global ignore file, allow it to create one. You might see some different choices. Yours might be a little different than mine just because mine's already been installed, and it's hard to kind of clean up every piece, every remnants of the installed software. It kind of knows that you installed it before. We're gonna go ahead and select Notepad. If you already installed Notepad, hopefully you did. You can make that as your default editor. And you probably won't use that a lot, but it's just it's nice. It's a convenient. I use Notepad++ a lot, not necessarily for coding, but kind of for other things. It's very handy. And we're going to enable file system caching and the Git credential manager. Okay. So let's go ahead. And like I said, it might look a little bit different. Let's go ahead and take a look. Let's look at the install here. So here I'm going to go ahead and click next. And we're just going to accept the defaults here. Obviously, if you want it in a different place, you can put it in a different place. But it's just going to put it under your program files, Git. Okay. We're going to click next. And this is where I think that this might look a little bit different on yours than mine. Okay, here choosing the default editor used by Git. And so here, just go ahead and choose Notepad++. Right there, click next. And then let Git decide. Yeah, we're going to let Git decide on that. And then we're going to go ahead and click next. Go ahead and accept the defaults there. Accept the defaults there. I think this is going to go through a whole bunch of ones. This might be a little different for yours than mine. I think you would just want to make sure you do the Git credential manager though. Okay, so accept the defaults and just make sure the Git credential manager is checked. Okay. So you just kind of follow along there and then click to install, and it's going to install it. And we're not going to look at the release notes, hit finish. And so Git should be installed. And one way to do it, if you're used to how to bring up a command prompt in your Windows, just go like here, type in CMD. I think if you had one open, you need to make sure you close it, but you should be able to just type Git there. And if you get something back, then you know that it actually installed, right? Just by typing GIT, it is installed. If not, it would tell you, it's not recognized. So there you go on that. I'm going to close that for now. Let's go back. We installed Git. Now we want to go ahead and register at GitHub Classroom and create your GitHub repository. So you want to go ahead and follow this link and create a GitHub account with your username following a first name underscore last name. If for some reason it already exists, you've got a common name or whatever, you may have to add a number at the end of this, you know, like 2 or whatever. You might have to add a number after your last name, but do first name underscore last name for your, it's going to prompt you to create an account. And I'm not going to actually go that far because I've already got a bunch of accounts. And so basically in here, it's going to ask you to sign in to GitHub, to your GitHub cloud, sign into GitHub. So if you don't have a GitHub account, okay, and it's probably best to actually create a new one. You know, not a big deal. Actually, if returning students, you can use what you have already. And I think in most cases, whatever, if you already have one, a personal one, that's fine as well. But just kind of, if you don't have a GitHub account, go ahead and you want to go down here and create an account. And you want to put an email, a password, and a username. Okay. So let's go back and look at our things here. So you can add a number if needed. Yes. Do not use a gamer tag or other online aliases for your username. If you have a GitHub account with an alias, you need to change it for school or create a new account. Once an account has been created and you're logged in, follow the link again. Okay. And select your name from the list provided. So after you go ahead and create this whole account, follow all the directions to create this whole account, right? Then if you come back here again another time, and what I'm going to do here on this is I'm going to actually here, let me bring that up like that. Let me go, I'm in an incognito window, but if I go to a regular window here and put this in here. So for you, it's going to be a little different. For you, it's going to be a little different. When you come in, see, I'm signed as this. I'm just going to continue with this one. And then this is what you should see. And this is after you've already created your GitHub account, right? And so then usually it's going to hold it. Once you create that and sign in, it's going to hold on to that. And so you go somewhere else in the browser. So when you come here to your GitHub Classroom again, right? Because this is actually your second time coming here. The first time you came here, it told you to sign in or create a new account. You created a new account. Then after you've created your new account, you come in and try to go to this GitHub Classroom again. So go ahead and choose your name from this list. Okay. Choose your name that's on this list and follow these, you know, you just click on this. For me, I'm going to just go ahead and skip to the next step. But for you, you need to select your name. Okay. And then it's going to ask you to accept this assignment. Okay. So you go ahead and accept the assignment. So let's see, did that. We're good there. And so when you accept the assignment, this is a screenshot from a different instructor. But once you accept the assignment, you should see your, let's see here. I just want to click through the process of creating your online account. Look, some other screenshot below. Okay. Yeah, just remember you need to go back to that GitHub Classroom a second time. I want to forget that. I know people have gotten confused. They get done and wonder what's going on. But you need to go to that GitHub Classroom again. And then you should see there's some base. What I did was I created a template, a GitHub template, and what we're going to be using, and that's the template we'll be using. And so when you go ahead and accept that assignment, it's going to have some directories, okay? It's going to have some directories, and so you'll see them at that point. Okay, the next thing we want to do is go ahead and install GitHub Desktop. And so here, I'm going to download. So we're going to download. So here it's /download, or you can just click through it on the screens to get to this point. But github.com, desktop.github.com.download. Download for Windows 62-bit, 64-bit, sorry. And then we're going to go ahead and double click on that and then get that installed. Okay, so the first thing it's asked you to do is go ahead and sign in to GitHub. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click that. And in my case, I am going to select the other one. So you select that, open the GitHub desktop, click open GitHub desktop. And then here it has my name, and this is just this is a thing that it creates on its own. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and hit finish here. Use my GitHub account name and email address. Hit finish. Let me check these directions here just to make sure I'm not speaking incorrectly here. Yeah, sign in, clone your GitHub repository. Okay, so let's go back to that real quick. And we're going to go ahead and hit finish here. Okay. And obviously, since I already have some stuff, it's going to be there already. But that's okay. And then just go ahead and follow along with that. You know, mine looks a little different. So you just want to go ahead and click this clone. It might look a little different for you than what I have here, but... And then here's the URL. And this is the local path where it's going to put it. Okay. Hit clone. Okay. So now I have that. So if we go ahead and what we can always do in here, just to show you a couple quick things. Up here at the top here, right? You can always come up here and right click on this and then show and explore. That way it'll open up Explore. It'll show you your whole directory structure. And it's what's going to happen is there's always going to be this .git file here. Okay. And if for some reason you don't see that, why you may not see that is under options here, folder options. You have to, let's see here. Click on View, Folder Options, View. I've got Windows 11, so mine might be a little different. So one thing I have, because this Git thing, you can see it's kind of a little shade or color, because this is actually a hidden file. It has it there. The reason it's kind of hidden, the reason they have it hidden is because you don't want to change things in here. You don't want to mess with this. This is that Git, you know, this is for tracking changes that you make all in this directory. Okay. And if you make some change in here, you delete this or you make some changes here, you're going to kind of mess things up. So you kind of want to leave it alone. But I have mine to show hidden. If you don't have yours to show hidden, if you don't have that selected, you may not see that. So that's under View, your folder options. By right-clicking it, okay, and choosing your options here, you can click Show, all right? And we're just going to go take a quick look here. Now, see, there's a bunch of stuff in here. You never really want to mess with this, though, okay? So I'm just letting you know that. So this is your structure of this template that's created for this course, and we're going to go into all this. Okay, this is what you'll be using. You know, we'll start taking a look at this probably the second day of class, and so that would be like January the 9th, and so we'll start looking at how we're going to put things in this directory and everything else. Okay, but the important thing is to Make sure that you have this in a path that you want, and make sure that your path maybe isn't too long. Sometimes people create something and it's like, you know, 10 folders deep before they create something new. Okay. So you don't want to be too deep into your file structure. Okay. Because it just gets too long. Um, just, uh, just a tip on that. So here, and like I said, it's always good. You're like, well, where's my repository? Because people sometimes have some problems with that. You can always right click, like I said, and show and explore. Okay. And that will be that's your repository. Okay. What else did I want to talk about on this? And for right now, you don't have to really worry about anything out in here about GitHub Desktop. We'll see. So what happens is since you have everything set up, if you have everything set up, you make some changes to any of those files in that directory we just looked at, they will show up here. Okay. And this is how you commit your code to the GitHub repository. Okay. And that way, what I can do as an instructor, I can go to your repository and see your code for your different assignments. Okay. And we're going to get into this a lot more. Like I said, starting that second day of the class, we'll get into this a lot more. Okay. So that is, I think, these other things here, I'm not going to go into much. You can install Discord. So for, a lot of you younger guys than me, a lot younger than me, you use Discord a lot. I use Discord as well. But especially you do a lot of gaming, you're very familiar with Discord. But here, go ahead and install Discord. So what we'll kind of be using Discord for, and maybe I'll show you a couple things real quick. So go ahead and download it, and then make sure you go ahead and join this server here, and there we go. So then it should come up with the server log here and this is basically the Rankin Virtual Classroom. Okay. And it has some different things in here you'll see when you get here. Okay. One thing, what I use this primarily for is text messaging, different direct messaging. So doing DMs with the different students that have an account. If you're not one to use it, then we don't necessarily have to use it. But it's very convenient, easy way for us just to message back and forth, some different thing, questions or whatever, right? So a few other things in here we'll look at is there's also this YouTube channels, right? And actually, just earlier today, I created the Welcome to Spring one, so that's here. And then also when I save this video I'm doing right now, it will automatically come in here. So they're always here, everything added. You just have to realize anything I've done in the past is also here. So this is kind of from different, from previous course and everything else. So it's just going to always just put the latest one. So the one you'll see in your list will be the latest one. Okay. Now you can always just go directly to the playlist through YouTube and don't necessarily have to come here to see it. And that's probably preferred, so you don't get too confused with all the other ones. But just wanted to mention it's there. But this is not just for our course. This is for the different courses that we have. Okay. This one's AWD 1000. And, sometimes you'll see some text messages and so forth in here, or, some server messages. So, we don't use this a lot, mostly just for doing a little bit of communicating back and forth. Okay. So you can go ahead and do that. And then the last one, actually, we already did Notepad. Install ad blocker. I have this on mine. It's up to you if you really want to download that at all. But, it's recommended. Okay. So that's about all I have. Please let me know if you have any problems. The important thing, to really get started in this course is, to make sure that you got Visual Studio Code installed, you have Git installed, you got your repository, you got your repository set up, and you can see it within GitHub Desktop. And if you got all those things working, then you should be good to go. So please let me know if you have any questions. Don't feel bad if you're struggling or something with it. I've had to help students before, so just let me know if you have any problems getting things set up for the environment. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.